Welcome back everyone to the channel. Right now we're going over my Yu-Gi-Oh! RP deck for Nordics. Now a lot of you have been asking for this deck, and I'll admit I haven't been too keen on it because it's constantly changing in the role player now, because there are cards that are coming out that help this deck, change it up a bit and all that. But we'll go over the base cards of this deck, the cards that are most likely not going to see any change. Now I've gone over the original version of the Nordic deck once, and this is going to be the Season 2 version of the deck, which is very similar to the end of the Season 1 deck and in the middle of it. So let's take a look. First off, we have Sovtov. Of course, you remember this card. You know, when it's normal summon, I get to bring back a Nordic card from my graveyard back to a hand, and it's already a tuner, a level 5 one, which allows me to go into a level 8 or 2 depending on what I have in my hand. And normally I combo with the Verge. You know, after normal summoning this card, you can normal summon additional time this turn. That basically allows you to tribute into him, so you can activate both effects. Because when this guy leaves the field, I get to add a Nordic Relic back to my hand. So potentially I can be adding back 2 cards to my hand rather than just tributing for 1 monster and bringing back 1. The next card is, of course, you know, the card that is the main tuner for the deck, Goldfax. Goldfax is a level 4 tuner, beast. And it has a special ability that if my opponent already controls a Synchro monster, I can special summon it. Don't get to use the effect that often because normally I'm bringing him out using the effect of Trash Nodder. But you know, when the opportunity arises, I would love to special summon him for a potential Synchro. Then we have Vanitas, one of the universal tuners, though I don't have any of the other Nordics. You can substitute this card for any one Nordic tuner, of course, but you can change her level by sending 1 Nordic monster from my deck to the graveyard to make her a new level, which can be the Verge, depending if I need a level 5, could be a Trash Nodder if I need a level 3, or a Diverge if I need a level 1. Now, I don't get to use her level gauge that often because I normally use her for the level 4, and she is kind of stuck in the fact that she can only be used in Synchro summons involving other Nordic monsters, so I can't use her with, like, let's say, Super Nimble, Rescue Cat, or Yoko Tuner, or Key Mouse, or any of those, though those 2 are tuners, so I can't use them anyway. Anyway, but I know I cannot use them for that reason, so she's kind of like less useful, which is why I only have 2 of her, but she's still useful when I need another tuner. Then I got Super Nimble Mega Hamster, one of the cards that helps supplement this deck to make it so fast. I can flip summon this guy and set, not just special summon, set a level 3 or below beast monster from the deck, which is always going to be either Trash Nodder or Trash Gneer, because when Trash Nodder is flipped down, I can activate his effect by flipping it from defense to attack, which will allow me to activate its effect to allow me to special summon either another Trash Gneer or a Goldfax from the deck, which can allow me to set up either into one of my XYZs or into a Synchro, or even be the last piece to get out my Thor. Now, I'll go over the last effect of him, but basically Super Nimble Mega Hamster just helps speed up the deck so much that it makes him viable in a lot of situations. Rescue Cat, I'm just surprised this guy got unbanned, to be honest. But basically, send this guy from the field to the grave, get to bring out 2 level 3 beasts, 3 or lower beasts, which will either be my Trash Nodders or Trash Gneers, Yoko Tuners, Key Mouse, and basically using them, I can go either into a level 5, into a level 4 Synchro, which I don't actually have, which I actually have to look into, or I can go into my level 3 XYZ, which we'll go over that in a little bit. Basically, this guy lets me bring out a lot of situational summons. If I already have a Goldfax or Vanitas, I can go straight into Thor using it. Basically, it's a good card, utility based, and it's strong for that. Next, we have Trash Gneer. It's pretty simple. Set it on the field. You want it to be destroyed so you can bring out 2 Nordic tuners, so you can have a 2 level 6s, so you can bring out level 4 like these 2 and go straight into Thor. Next we have Trash Nodder. Basically I already went over its effect of basically switching from defense to attack, but I didn't go over is when a card on the field is destroyed, a monster is destroyed, I can special summon him from my hand into attack or defense. Normally I want to put him in defense because he'll be the replacement, so that way when my turn comes around next Next, I switch them from defense to attack to special summon a Goldfax or another Trash Knotter, which is very good. Next we have Yoko Tuner. It's a level 1 tuner for a very specific monster, but it still allows me to bring back a tuner from the grave, whether it be a Key Mouse, Salvatov, Goldfax, or Vanitas from the grave. So, he's a very good utility card, allows me to get back some of my higher tuners, or allows me to go into one of my other ones. I'm thinking about putting in a specific card for him and Key Mouse, but I don't know. You know what? Let's see. Let's see if we can do it right now. First time on screen. Let's do this. Let's do this. Rank 1. So let's see what the options are for a rank 1. Other than numbers, which I'm not allowed to use. Cannot be destroyed by battle during either player's turn when effect is activated. Okay, that's a very defensive one. Let's see. No. Okay. I guess that's just a stall card, but not really what this deck is all about. I can't use any of these bottom ones. Let's see. I think the Slacker Magician is the way to go. Yeah, I can't even utilize that. Ghost Chick. I guess. Yeah, I think Slacker Magician is just the way to go. So, there you go. New level 1 XYZ for specifically Yoko Tuner and Key Mouse. Anyway, we went over the Verge already. Basically, comboing him with Salvatov is the best thing you could possibly do, or bring out one of the tuners from the hand to basically go into basically Thunder Unicorn. Next, we have Key Mouse. When this card is destroyed by battle and sent to the graveyard, I can add one level 3 or below beast monster from my deck to my hand. Normally, I usually go use them to get Trash Knotter or Trash Gneer, which I'm going in reverse, sorry about that to confuse you. Sometimes I can also go into Yoko Tuner depending on the situation. I can also use Key Mouse for the fact of going into Goyo King, or it's being used as a tuner in general to go into something else, such as I've used them to go into Vulcan, Thunder Unicorn. I've gone and used them to go into those before. Very situational, but I have. And I've also gone into some of the level 7s with them before. Then we have Air's Rock Sunrise, a general revival card for beast monsters, but it has a secondary effect I really like. When I summon a beast monster using this effect, for every beast, plant, or wing beast, which I don't have any plant or wing beast to use that for, my opponent's monsters lose 200 attack for each one in the grave. So if this is used very late game, potentially I can make them lose over 1,000 attack points, which can set up for one of my monsters bringing back to basically utilize and destroy theirs. Next, we have Soul Charge. Basically, you know this card. Basically, I choose as many monsters in my deck as possible to basically do for 1,000 each, bring it back. I can set up for a strong Synchro Summon, Exceeds. Normally I can use them out to bring out Thor for the cost of 3,000. But unfortunately, with the turn I use this, as a bouncing effect, I cannot activate my battle phase, and I can only activate one per turn, but that's fine. For how much this costs, it's mainly good for only having one in the deck. Next we have Pot of Greed, of course, just draw 2 cards. Next we have Card of Demise. Bit of a risky card, and I'll admit it, I wanted to use it just to, say, here Ryan, this is how you use it. But this card basically allows you that I basically try to empty out my hand and I draw 3 cards, but for the rest of the turn my opponent takes no battle damage or any damage in general, and I lose any of the cards I did not use for the cost of the 3 cards to the graveyard, which can be good and bad. So there's some monsters in the grave that I want to keep throwing in the grave. Like if I already have a Thor out, I want to throw the Goldfaxes into the grave for more of his revival effect. but mainly I want to try to utilize the cards before I lose them. Next, Upstart Goblin. You already know this card. My opponent gains 1,000 and I get to draw a card for it. Monster Reborn. Good card. Get to bring back any monster from either player's graveyard. Can use to bring back one of mine or one of theirs. Next, two Pot of Dualities. Yes, I have a lot of draw power in this deck because unfortunately Nordic only has one main searcher in terms of spells and traps, so my deck tends to be a bit slow, so I mainly utilize these searching cards for it. These draw power cards. Anyway, I excavate the top 3 cards in my deck, and I get to add one of them to the hand, and I get to put the rest of them back. I unfortunately cannot special summon during this turn, but I mainly use it to get out either a Relic, a spell card I need, or maybe one of the goats to try and stall out. Next, Mystical Space Typhoon. You already know this card. Target one card on the field, target one spell and card on the field and destroy it. Next, Twin Twisters. Discard one card, destroy 2 cards. Of course, it's a bit more of it's a stronger Mystical Space Typhoon, but it allows me to target 2 for the cost of 1 card in the hand. Next, I have Burial from a Different Dimension. As you saw, a lot of people tend to like to banish things in the roleplay. They tend to try to banish Thor a lot, which is bad because other than this card, I cannot bring him back. So that's why I added in Burial from a Different Dimension, which allows me to bring back Thor from a banish and put him in the grave, leaving me the chance to potentially bring him back out using one of the cards. Another thing is, I can use it to return gold faxes that I banished for his revival effect, allowing me to utilize them once more for the banishing effect or revive them if I need to. Otherwise, Burial from the Different Dimension is a very good card for this deck. Forbidden Dress. I get to put a dress on someone and they lose attack points and shame. I'm just kidding. Otherwise, that wouldn't make sense with the female monsters. Or female duelists. Or like if they like dressing up in general. Basically, lose 600 check. I can also put this on one of my cards and make sure that my monsters cannot be targeted or destroyed by card effects, such as if they were, like if my cards were about to be destroyed by Mirror Force and I want to save, like, let's say Thor or another card specifically, I activate this card and all of a sudden it cannot be destroyed by that card. Very good utility card, quick play so it can outspeed other than just a counter trap. Nordic Relic Dufnir, basic equip card. Any Nordic or Aesir monster I equip it to gains a 800 attack. But if my opponent is trying to weaken my monster and is destroyed by a card effect, basically I can add 1 Nordic Relic from my deck, which can be any of these, which is very good for the deck since Nordic Relics keep this deck alive. The Nordic Lights, of course, you already know this one. My Nordic monsters cannot be destroyed with battle as long as this card is on the field. Of course, it has a bit of a double-edged sword. If this card is destroyed, all of the Nordic monsters on my field are destroyed with it. Kind of like a double-edged sword, so I try not to use it that often, and that's why there's only 1 in the deck. Storming Mirror Force is my Mirror Force for the deck. I just like it because it follows the storm theme, the weather theme Thor seems to have with electricity, and Storming Mirror Force is the closest thing that goes for it, and I like it for the fact that it doesn't destroy my opponent's monsters, it returns them to the hand, which makes it so my opponent has to go through all the summoning methods to bring out some of the stronger monsters or a lot of the small monsters once again, basically slowing them down a lot. Gleipnir basically is a trap searcher. Add 1 Nordic from my deck to my hand. Gungnir, one of the Nordic Relics people hate to face against. Basically, Nordic Relic Gungnir, basically banish one of my Nordic or Aesir monsters I control and target 1 card on the field and destroy it. Doesn't matter what card it is. And the best thing is, my cost that I originally used for it returns during my second end phase, so it returns to the field in attack position. I kind of wish it was during the beginning of my turn, but you know, pickers can't be choosers, and I guess that's the whole balancing effect. Because my opponent now has a chance to retaliate and get rid of that card before I can do anything with it. Bottomless Trap Hole. Basically, you already know this card. When my opponent special summons a 15 or higher attack monster, I get to destroy and banish it. Nordic Relic, Brash Gamin. Basically, I get to target 1 card on the field and 1 other card. Basically, make their attacks equal. So basically, I can make them run into each other. I sometimes get to trick opponents with Transineer, putting them in attack mode and making them run into it. And the only cost is I get to bring back 2 of the tokens in return. So either I can sell out more, or I'm setting myself up for a Synchro summon of Thor or level 7. And the only downside is I just lose the monster. But if I utilize Thor with this, if I'm facing a monster even stronger than him, I can use him, return him using Gold Fax effect, and all of a sudden I had no cost other than just a tuner in the grave. I have a normal Mirror Force in here, just having a spare Mirror Force. It's a destruction by card effect, so a lot of cards are immune to it, so it's not that great anymore, but it's still good to have. Next, we have one of my favorite relics, Nord. Basically, I get to target one Nordic or Aesir monster and double their attack and defense until the end of the turn. Basically, I like making my opponents run into it. Like if my opponents bring out a card that's strong enough to destroy Thor, and as you saw during the finale of the season 1, I have my opponents run right into it and basically have them destroy themselves and take a ton of damage, because Thor has total is 7,000 during this. Sometimes I use it to keep maybe a Trajnotter or one of the other cards alive, because I desperately need to keep it alive. But normally it's a defensive mode thing, so 22, so a lot of monsters can beat it. A lot of like level 5 or higher or Synchros or XYZs can get over it. But it's situational in that case, but I do love saving it for Thor for making my opponents run right into it. Unfortunately, I cannot attack directly with it, so that is a downside to it, but just making an opponent run right into it is the best thing. Nordic Relic Leviathan. Basically, I don't even know if it's a Leviathan or Leviathan, whatever. Basically, if my opponent has destroyed one of my cards, such as Trajnotter, or maybe my Trashganir, or any other card, including Thor, Synchros, and all that, afterwards, I can activate this card and destroy the card that destroyed one of mine. And the best thing is, my opponent is neither one of us is actually allowed to chain any cards after this, so you cannot activate anything in response to this. You cannot negate it using a monster effect. You cannot Dark Bribe it. Nothing. It's basically one of the original. You cannot activate any cards in response to this. Nordic Divine Relic, actually, Mjolnir. Basically, what this does is it just allows one of my Aesir monsters, mainly Thor, to attack twice this turn. I normally like to couple this with Nerd to basically clear out a field, or just make sure that the final attack is given to Thor. Compose, basically target one of my opponent's monsters and return it from the field to their hand or extra deck, basically making sure that any cards that are immune to destruction is subverted by this card. Then we have Call of the Haunted, basically revive a card from my graveyard back to the field. Next we have Solemn Strike, basically when a monster is summoned or effect is activated, I can pay 1500 life points to negate it. That is the main deck of my Nordic deck. Now we're going over the extra deck. And as you know what, let's start over here. Let's save Thor for last. We have one of my favorite Exceeds cards, which allowed me to help actually Colin make his Power Ranger deck or Super Quanto deck. But basically it's a rank 3 Exceeds monster, which I can easily do with the goats, as you see constantly. Basically what it does is, while this card is on the field, I can detach an overlay unit and target one spell or trap card on the field and destroy it. The only downside is it cannot attack if it doesn't have any overlay units. So after a while, if I've used up both overlay units, it's just a 2800 defense wall, which is a high defense, I'll admit, for its cost of bringing it out. So I'm not complaining about that. I love this card for the fact that I don't want to use Tornado Dragon because I feel like everyone uses it, but it's just a better rank 3 for my deck. You saw me put this one in right now. Slacker Magician, can't be destroyed by battle, which is good. During either player's turn, when the card effect is activated that targets this face-up card, when they're trying to get rid of it, I can detach an overlay unit from it and negate the activation. And if I do, destroy it. Maybe it's a little too much. Maybe I'll test it out. If it's a little too much, I'll see if I can find a replacement one for it. But for right now, it's the only good level 1 rank 1 out, and it's a good stalling card. Anyway. And then we have Castell, level 4, rank 4 Exceeds. Mainly I use it to get rid of some cards that cannot be destroyed by battle, since that's the only way, certain cards can be gotten rid of. And this guy is just really good. He's cheap, he's easy to bring out. Next we have Castell Omega. Basically it's a little harder to bring him out since I need 2 rank 4 lights, which is either Gold Fax, not Vanitas, sadly enough, Actually, I think I've only able to bring him out with with gold facts now, so it's a little harder to bring him out now since I've taken out like the warrior one and all that. But when I do bring him out, he's a good card for the fact of I can detach an overlay unit, and all my concealer monsters, which is just him, are unaffected by spells and traps for this turn, so I can make sure if my opponent cannot mirror force him or different dimension him, and all that. Next we have a number monster. I love Utopia, and as you saw in my other videos, I just love the Utopia archetype. Basically, he just stalls out. Maybe I'll add his evolutions later on, as I said, but right now he's just good as is. Maybe I will add in his just C39 form, but right now it's just good as normal Utopia. Next we have Thunder Unicorn, and as people said, what makes a unicorn? But basically the thing I love about him is once per turn during my main phase, I can target one face-up monster my opponent controls. It loses 500 attack for each monster I control. The only downside is I have to make sure that's low enough for Thunder Unicorn to destroy it, because Thunder Unicorn is the only one allowed to attack when I activate this effect. So I have to make sure that it's low enough for Thunder Unicorn to destroy. Next, I have Vulcan the Divine. It's a little harder to bring him out sometimes, but when I do, he's normally used to a great effect. Basically, when it's Synchro Summon, I can target one face-up card I control and one my opponent controls, and return those to the hand or deck. I mean, to the hand or extra deck. But sadly, I cannot use the cards with the same name that I used to return to the hand. So let's say I used, I guess, Gold Facts, and I can't bring them out if my opponent still controls a Synchro or any of my other cards during the turn. Normally that doesn't bother me, but for other decks it can, but normally it doesn't for me. Ancient Sacred Wyvern, one of my best troll cards in the deck. Basically, I'd like to try to bring him out when later on in a duel when I have a advantage over my opponent, because this guy or girl, whatever it is, gains attack equal to the difference between mine and my opponent's. It has my life points have to be higher though. If it's lower, then he actually loses attack equal to it. So it's kind of like a double-edged sword in that regard. But if I have a strong advantage over my opponent, this one basically makes it even bigger. Next, Black Rose Moonlight Dragon. Basically, when I summon this card out, I can return a level 5 or higher my controllers that was special summoned back to the hand. And once per turn, if my opponent special summons a level 5 or higher monster, I can return it back once per turn. So it's good, just keep making sure I have a field advantage. Unfortunately, a lot of people tend to get over it by just destroying it by card effects or just spamming a special summon just making sure, because it doesn't have the highest attack, but it does have decent enough to where it can be a threat to the opponent. Clear Wing, one of my favorite cards I added to this deck. It's an easy level 7 Synchro. Basically, when it's a protective card for my level 5 or higher, such as himself, Thor, or any of the other cards that are level 5 or higher. Basically, if a card is trying to target one of my level 5 or highers, I can negate and destroy the card, and it gains attack points equal to it. And if a level 5 or higher is activating its effect, I can negate that as well, and it gains attack points equal to it by negating its effect and destroying it. Basically, it's a good card. The only thing is, it does not do anything for any ranks. So if any rank monster is trying to destroy it, it basically is useless against it. So it's only good against normal effect monsters or Synchros. Against Exceeds, it's not that great, sadly enough. Next, we have Voltic Bicorn. Basically, I just use them to try to thin out my opponent's deck if they don't want their cards in the deck. But it's a good level. It's a level 7 good beater if I don't have any of the other ones at that point. Other than that, yeah, it's a good strong card. Just sends cards to the grave. It also sends my own, but you know, what can you do? Goyo King. I added this in replacement of the Scrap Dragon, because Sika needed a Sacred Dragon, and you know, it was on a list, so you know, I gave it up. But basically, this was the replacement for it. Goyo King. Basically, I'm utilizing more of the Yoko and the Key Mouse in the deck to use him. Basically, I had to have a level 7 Synchro out, and summoning one of these guys, I go into Goyo King. And the thing I like about Goyo King is when he declares an attack, he gains attack points for each Earth Warrior I control, which is honestly only Goyo King in this entire deck. But he basically gains 500 attack, making his attack constantly 32. And if he destroys an opponent's card, I can destroys an opponent's monster and sends it to the grave. I can activate one of its effects, which is basically I can special summon that monster to my side, which is a basic Goyo effect. Or I can take control of one of the face-up monsters they already control on the field to my side. Basically, he's a good card to steal my opponent's stronger monsters with. And the reason he's in this deck is because he's a little harder to bring out, because I need to Synchro summon twice to bring him out, utilizing another Synchro monster already. So I had to give up one good monster, good Synchro, for him. Next, we have Thor, Lord of the Aesir. One of my bread and butter of this deck, one of my favorite cards so far, and I've been loving using him in the roleplay. Basically, when he's summoned, he's a little hard to bring out. I have to use a Nordic Beast, which is only Goldfax or Vanadis, since she counts as for all tuners. And basically, utilizing him a level 4 to go in, mainly using Trajnodder and Trashganir, or sometimes situational with other cards. It's really weird sometimes, but basically using him. But once per turn, I can negate all the effects on my opponent monsters on the field, and until the end phase, which normally disrupts some cards that protect themselves due to a special summon or something. Like, if I remember correctly, Star Reader. It destroys his effect so that it's just a normal Synchro monster afterwards. And the thing I love about it is his revival effect. If my opponent destroys it by battle or card effect, I can revive it by banishing one of the gold effects, which I used for the Synchro summon. Banish it and revives it. And if it does this by this way, it inflicts 800 damage to my opponent, which can finish them off if it's by the late duel, or bring them in even closer for Thor to finish them off by the chip damage. Basically, Thor is the main card of this deck. Without it, the deck really doesn't have that much of a purpose. Some side deck cards I like to bring side in, depending on whether I feel like it or not. Magical Midbreaker Field, you already know this from the main roleplay. My cards cannot be targeted by card effects. Light Imprisoning Mirror, situational, negate the effects of all light monsters on the field, which doesn't affect me that much since most of them are Earth. I say that, and there's some good light monsters in here, but mainly Goldfax is the main deck one that would be affected by it, but you know, doesn't seem like I'd be utilizing the Synchro Summon effect that much. Then Mind Drain affects monsters in the hand, cannot be actually, I was mainly using this as a test for my Fight Club deck, so mainly these cards are not going to be used that much. I mainly put them in here as a side thing, but the main card I do side in is Magical Midbreaker Field, because every once in a while I'm going to face that deck that, oops, well, I'll put that back in right now, but basically Magical Midbreaker Field is a card I like to side in every once in a while. Magical, and let's just scroll down, because I don't know if there's any dashes between them. There it is. Oh, no, I just could have typed in min. I probably would find it right away. Anyway, that is my Nordic deck. I really do hope that you'd enjoy this. And I guess if you guys want to try this deck out on your own, just, I guess, you know what? Yeah, I'll add a link in the description with a YDF of my deck. See if you guys want to try it out. Maybe if you can, I don't know, try to make it better on your own. See if there's anything that makes this deck stronger. Anyway, I do hope that you guys enjoyed this, and I do hope that you guys join me for the next video. See ya, folks.